This is our PSB Presentation by
Amy Connick, Bryanston or Queen Elizabeth,
Poppy Kettler, Millfield,
Daniel Hill, Claysmore,
Gabriela Remongongora, Spain.
Samuel Nelson Dorset.
History.
First off was history. We had never experienced inquiry before, so you can probably imagine that we were all anxious. But we knew that if we believed in ourselves, we could conquer it. The topic was the Great Fire of London, which was really intriguing but quite complex as we had to write a two-sided argument.
What went well?
What went well in my history inquiry is that it showed me how to move forward in many ways to use in the future. This helped me throughout my inquiry, though it was very difficult.
What went well is that I made sure to research well about the Great Fire in London before answering the question. This helped me to answer the question with confidence. I also learned that the time is money and that we have to use very well.
All well was how organised it was. It treated me worrying as it was my first ever inquiry. But this was good as it pushed me to work harder.
Even better if.
I needed to use more source evidence to my work. People won't just go ahead and believe you. Give them a reason to trust you. This means I have to remember to use PEE, point, evidence, explanation.
In this inquiry, not everything went well for me. There were also things that I have to improve, such as reading the question very well before moving on to the next one, and I must also put important details.
I felt that I could improve by doing work in my free time and also taking my time as in this inquiry I was lazy and tempted to rush.
During this inquiry, I was very hesitant that I was going to run out of time and that my inquiry wouldn't be produced at my best ability. So, I used my initiative and spent some of my own time completing this inquiry so that it would be a piece of work I was proud of.
Because this was our first inquiry, I was very nervous. I was worried that I'd do something wrong and I'd have to start again. This would just slow me down and waste time. Well, that's exactly what I did. Obviously not on purpose, but I worried too much and this led me to not thinking straight. This was now something I should not repeat in the next inquiry.
Secondly was our geography inquiry. In early October, all of the Year 8s took a trip down to Dartmoor. We walked to 3 different stages of the River Dart and was then tasked to find the velocity and the cross-section of the river. When we had our results, we were then challenged to write an inquiry based on what we had found out. While doing this, we had to use great collaboration as we had to work in a team and be good citizens. After this inquiry, we definitely deserved some house points from our teachers, as this inquiry, let's say, was like being in Tasker, but wet and in a river. During Dartmoor, while exploring and measuring the river, we all had some falls, laughs, and some shivers.
What went well?
What went well is that it was my second inquiry, so I was more confident of how to approach it. But knowing me, I was still nervous. Luckily, I used some of my own time to do this, as I was falling behind, so I used that time wisely and caught up in the time limits.
I reflected on the mistakes that I made in history, and I realised that I needed to stick to the timeline. So, that's exactly what I did. I also used more collaboration. This helped me understand things from a peer's point of view.
When I reflected on my work, I realised that some of my results were inaccurate. The lesson I learned that day was to always check the results multiple times for them to be accurate.
To make improvement in the next big piece of work I do, I could jot more notes down about things whilst they're still fresh in my head. I didn't do this, therefore, by the time I had to write them down, my mind had blanked.
After this inquiry, I learned that getting 100% the whole way through is the key. As at some stages, I was slowly decreased to 75, and then my work had become not very good, let's say.
In this inquiry, I felt that I used collaboration more, especially in the practical work. During our time in Dartmoor, collaboration was key. If you didn't work as a team, you would either fail, not understand things when it came to the inquiry, or worst of all, you could be volunteered by your team to jump into the freezing cold river to collect things from the bottom. Never underestimate the temperature of the water. RS. Finally was RS. For many, this inquiry was the most popular because of the freedom and choice we had. This time, we chose our own topics based on humanity and religion. In this group, the topics included of
Staying active,
the ideal body image,
Idolatry,
Animal testing,
Do all world religions teach us kindness, and do the followers of their religion follow their religion's rules?
What went well?
What went well in this inquiry? I communicate a lot with my friends and my teachers to ask them for help and advice. I also use the same techniques that I use in history, of informing myself very well before putting on the information, and this helped me a lot to get my work done.
What went well is that I was able to find a subject through some help. I was able to find some sources that pleased my visual learning and finish using the best that I could do, though extremely difficult like all the other inquiries.
Personally, what I did well is I had a clearly laid out plan, so I could follow a step-by-step guide. I also had a lot of clear research and evidence, which helped me produce a well-structured inquiry. EBI.
I struggled a lot in this inquiry, mainly because I didn't know what to do next. I was trying to do my best to keep in the schedule on time, but I still need to really improve my punctuation.
In this inquiry, I could have improved my work more, and I should have focused more on reading the questions read.
I felt that I still stressed too much, and by doing this, I ended up spending more time worrying than I did writing. I also could have finished my whole inquiry before editing. I didn't do this, so by the time it was the timeline had finished, my conclusion was only half done.
The learning power I had found most useful was independence, because I had to find a lot of things by myself and do the best that I could do. And I did. I did need a bit of help, but it isn't bad to ask for help. It shows you can be collaborative while being independent.
For my RS, I encountered a lot more self-confidence than I did in my previous inquiries, as not today wasn't my last inquiry, but I got to pick my own topic, which meant that I felt more comfortable as it was a topic I was interested in. Also, I used a lot of independence, as I started to manage time limits in my own hands by creating a timeline that was suitable for my inquiry.
What we have all improved on during our inquiries.
In my inquiries, I've improved on organisation, since I now have a good idea on how to approach an inquiry. Not only that, but I've improved on perseverance, and some parts of my inquiry I felt like giving up, so I had to persevere to reach an inquiry I was proud of.
Overall, on these inquiries, I think that I've improved on the speed in which I work. I'm more determined to do things at the best of my ability, and I've also learned to do a lot of things in my own time.
During these three inquiries, I have learned that wanting to do work and not being lazy is so useful. I also learned that being confident and having a good mindset can take you a long way.
During this inquiry, I have had a great time, but they had a difficulty. In general, I have learned that use many new techniques and methods, but not only I have learned how to make a better presentation, I have also learned as a person.
During my inquiries, I have improved on my PE and my performance work. My attention skills have improved, and my learning power skills of independence has grown massively.
What learning techniques did we learn best with?
For me, I can learn with all these techniques, but I'm mainly a visual learner, as pictures and videos help me understand everything better. And with pictures and videos, you get the satisfaction to see it for yourself.
I'm mainly a visual and kinesthetic learner. I basically learn best when I'm shown pictures or I act things out live.
I am a visual learner, as I find it easier to understand by seeing how to do it. For example, by seeing pictures and videos.
I learn best by being an auditory learner. It's helped me to learn just listening.
For me, visual learning works best for me, giving me a clear understanding of research in videos or pictures.
Learning powers. Independence.
I use independence for all the inquiries, but mostly RS, as I had to pick my own topic and write a detailed inquiry about it.
I tried to do as much independent work as I could in my free time. And I also tried to find ways around problems rather than just asking people. Communication.
I used communication, especially during my geography inquiry, as I had to work well in a team and by talking. I also used communication by talking to my teachers to gain advice when needed.
I have used communication to ask my friends or my teachers for help, to give me their opinions, and I have used it a lot.
Cognition.
I would say I use cognition for my RS topic because I need to think hard about which topic I would do. With this, I could find something I could work on easily.
For me, I used cognition when I was writing my conclusions at the end of my inquiries. This learning power shone through geography and history, as I had to answer the overall question which took deep thought to sum up what my final answer was.
Reflection. Reflection has been really important in these inquiries because if you made a mistake in the first one, you must be able to reflect, otherwise you'll make that same mistake over and over.
I reflected mostly during my geography and RS, mainly because I was able to look back to see what I did bad and make that a strength.
Which learning powers did we use the most?
The learning power that I have used the most has been communication, because it has helped me a lot in my last inquiry, and for me, it is the one that has helped me the most.
I think independence or grit, because I had to do a lot of it by myself, but also with grit, because I had to use my initiative a lot to find the free time to get it done.
What learning powers have we improved on the most? Personally, I've improved on communication the most. At the start, in history, I insisted that I had to do all independent work, but in later inquiries, I've realised that communication was key.
I also improved my communication as I began to ask for advice when needed, but I also feel I've improved on my initiative, as now I am more eager to work on my free time, which will come in use during my GCSEs.
How well have we developed during our inquiries, from history all the way to RS?
I feel like I've developed hugely over the course of these inquiries, as I now know how to approach and structure inquiry and how to reflect on it.
I feel like the way I learn has massively improved because of these inquiries. I now see how I learn and how I can improve that.
I have developed massively in wanting to learn and not being lazy. Also, I have developed my organisation skills and now will be forever prepared to either do one of these or even in my GCSEs.
I have improved a lot during my inquiries. Not only I have improved my English, I have also learned to use the learning powers well, and I improved all the methods.
I have learned how to work by myself and get things done, and to improve and climb from even one of the hardest stages to the next.
Thank you for listening.